What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Talking Halos. I'm your host today, Jared Timms, and I'm joined alongside my co-host, my partner in crime, Nate Green. Nate, good day to be an Angels fan, huh?
Yes, sure.
Oh, come on, be a little better than that. Don't let your the what is it?
We signed someone.
Donut.
That's good. That's good.
Someone. Yeah,
At least they did something, which is it's good to see that. So
better than nothing.
they're spending money and trying, so it's better than being an A's fan, I guess.
All right, I'm already done with whatever this is today. So go ahead, cut it off right now. Don't wipe the face away. Come back with a better face, and we'll get it going. Yeah. So guys, Angels make a splash in the free agent market today. It's a splash. It's a splash. It's a splash, Nate. It's a player.
I guess everything is a splash, technically.
Angels.
You didn't say big splash, but yeah.
No, it's a splash. It's a splash. I mean, I'm not going to compare it to anything. Angels make a splash. All right. That it is what it is. Angels make a splash. It's an interesting splash too. I don't know where they go with this. Angels signed Brandon Drury 2 years, $17 million, $8.5 average annual value. Let's get initial thoughts before we talk about anything else. What are our initial thoughts on Brandon Drury, the player, and our initial thoughts on just kind of the signing in general?
Interesting. I think it's a little bit peculiar on the signing. Plays the same type of role as Gio Urshela, can play first, can play third, can play second. Not really short like Gio, but basically very similar to Gio Urshela, where he's going to be a right-handed bat that hits well against lefties and, going to put a professional at bats. So the one thing that is scary is really only had one good year in the last 4 or 5. I know you can point to the 2020 season and be like, oh, he had over 100 WRC plus and 84 at bats and 51 games. That's not playing a lot. He's getting a little bit of playing time, not a lot. The one other thing, doesn't really walk. It feels like that's not a big thing the Angels care about, is like getting on base. And if you look at other teams and you look at how you win baseball games, you have to get on base. And so if you're going to hit at a 300 level, like if everyone's going to hit over 300, then, the walks aren't as big of a deal. But we look at this lineup and you're probably going to have 1 or 2 guys hitting over 300, right? Like, this is not a lineup that's going to be hitting 315, 330, and they walk a couple here and there. No, this is a lineup that's going to be hitting 240, 260. A couple of guys hitting in the 280 to 300 range. So I think it's a little weird. The one thing I do know is Perry did try and get Drury last offseason, missed out on him. The Reds got him over the Angels. I think the Angels offered him a minor league deal, and I think the Reds offered him like a major league deal, if I remember correctly, or maybe it was like a minor league deal with like a for sure spot on the roster as long as he played adequately in spring training. So I do feel like this is a Perry guy. He really wanted him last year, gets him this year. It just, after the Gio trade and everything, it's kind of a little bit of a head scratcher to me, but you can never have too many good players.
No, exactly that. It brings up really interesting options for the Angels. The floor is higher than last year. You look at it, and it takes a lot more to get to a guy like Andrew Velasquez, a guy like Mikey Stefanik, who everybody wanted up, who, it probably isn't that guy who you can rely on a daily basis. Even a guy like Luis Rengifo, Levon Soto, is one of those guys who it takes a little bit to get to him, and it takes even more for him to start. Yes, one injury and he's up, but one injury and he's not starting necessarily, right? Like, we've seen.
I think it depends on who it is. Like,
that's true.
If it's a David Fletcher injury or a Luis Rengifo injury, like Levon Soto's starting at shortstop. We can't be a team that says we're better than Texas and we're better than Seattle and we're better than Houston with Gio Urshela playing shortstop every day. Not that he can't play shortstop. You would just like it if he didn't play shortstop every single day. And that's what you would come up to if there's a Fletcher or a Rengifo injury. So, yeah, I think that you're literally one injury away from a Levon Soto starting at shortstop because we still haven't filled that hole. Now, if we had went and got a guy like Carlos Correa, even though I'm not a Dansby Swanson guy, but even if you go get a Dansby Swanson, now you're 3 guys away from Livan Soto, right? You're Dansby Swanson, Carlos Correa, Trey Turner, fill in the blank with the shortstop. You're David Fletcher, and then you're Livan Soto away from starting. So like that's the one thing that they really needed, and they still haven't really filled that spot. But they could easily go into spring with this roster and say, you know what, like we've got enough movement to kind of start Rengifo a little bit short, to start Fletcher a little bit short. Just kind of everyone's going to play about 120, 130 games, which I know you want, and just no one's going to play the same position, you know, more than 40 or 50 times in that time period. So that's what it looks like. And I don't know. I still think you're one injury away from a Livan Soto, Andrew Velasquez debate of who should be up there. And if Andrew Velasquez wins that debate, then you know how I feel.
I don't think those guys are starting though. I think you have the options, you know, to start a Gio Urshela at shortstop, to start a Luis Rengifo at shortstop, David Fletcher at shortstop, any of those guys at shortop above Livan Soto. You know, you don't need to start one of those guys if they get called up. Andrew Velasquez. Last year you had to start Andrew Velasquez because Fletcher was hurt. Luis Rengifo was playing second base, and you know, I'll take Andrew Velasquez at short defensively over Luis Rengifo. You know, and once Velasquez got hurt, it turned into, well, you need to call up Livan Soto. You didn't want to. You need to call him up. I mean, he probably wasn't quite ready, but it had to happen because you didn't have anybody else to play that position. So, like I said, they've gotten deeper. The floor has gotten higher. I don't think it's a playoff team yet. I think they have playoff depth, though. You look at this, and we talked about it like 2 minutes ago before we started recording, that this is the type of depth that good teams have, that you see the Dodgers always have. You see the Astros have. You see all these good teams, Yankees have, that are able to bring up guys, and you know they're going to be decent. You know, they can start all over the diamond, such like that. So yes, the floor has gotten higher. The depth has gotten better. There's still a pitcher away, and there's still a bullpen to be made away, but I'm not as worried about the bullpen because of how volatile a bullpen can be. And I don't think they're done quite yet with the bullpen. It opens up a lot of interesting thoughts. I think they need to get a contract off the books, whether that's Loop, whether that's Tepera, whether that's Fletcher, whether it's what you got to get some type of money off the books. I don't think they roll into the year with all those guys. They could. And Stassi, I know, is another guy who you like to bring up. They could, but I do think they get rid of one of those bigger contracts, just to save a little bit of money as well, and maybe, you know, be able to utilize that in a different way. Bring in 2 major league bullpen pieces if you are able to get Loop's contract off. 1 for 4 on both those guys equals what Loop is. So depth is good. Depth is very good. That's what the Angels have been missing a lot in the past. The floor is higher. I don't think they're quite there yet. It's interesting though. I'll say that it's very interesting. It's better than having Matt Duffy bat leadoff, Joe Adell bat 5th, like the Angels did on opening day last year. So
Duffy hit 4th last year. Let's be honest. Come on.
I said cleanup. I said Duffy batted cleanup.
I thought you said first. I was like,
oh, you batted cleanup. Did I say, if I said first, I'm sorry. Yeah,
I thought you said first. I was like
4th, 5th, first, whatever. He batted cleanup last year to opening day. So it's better than that. You know, that's where I'm going to stand. It's interesting. I don't expect the Angels to be done yet. I do expect them to be done in the infield. I think they're done in the outfield for all intents and purposes. I think they now turn towards, maybe trading for a shortstop. I don't think so. Again, I think they're done in the infield. I think that they now turn towards bullpen and look for another starting pitcher, whichever route that is. I don't know if you agree with that or not.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where you got to go, starting pitching. The money is getting a lot closer to the Lux tax, and for this team to be at the luxury tax is kind of embarrassing, honestly. Because the teams that are getting to the luxury tax and above the luxury tax are teams that people are projecting to win 95 plus games. And this is not a 95 plus win team right now. It's not. And, that's nobody's fault. And it's just what you have. And I don't know. I just think it's funny when you look at all the other teams that are over the luxury tax, and it's, the Mets, the Dodgers. The Dodgers aren't even there right now, but they will be by the end of the offseason. The Yankees and all these teams. It's like, okay, the Mets are going to win 90 plus games, probably 95 plus games if you want to be honest with yourself. The Yankees are going to win 90 plus games if you're honest with yourself. The Dodgers will win 90 plus games because that's just who they are. And then you got the Angels up there, and it's like, wow, we've spent the fourth most, not right now, but by the time this thing ends, we could be up there spending the fourth most amount of money in Major League Baseball and not be a playoff team. That is my biggest worry about this. And I, I'm just, I'm a little frustrated that we don't have a shortstop. And I think that every team, like, you start in the middle of the diamond, right? Like, we talk about this all the time. You start up the middle. You start at shortstop, you start at catcher, you start at center field. Those are the three spots on the offensive side of things you start with, and pitching. Those are the four positions you worry about. You fill in everything else later. And it's just kind of funny to me that you look and we are making moves and it's like, oh, well, we'll get a shortstop later. If we'll get a shortstop later, the longer you wait, the harder it is to go get a shortstop. Because not only did the long-term contracts mess up the Angels, because now these teams are going, man, I don't want to trade my shortstop because I'm going to have to give a shortstop, a free agent shortstop, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, who probably only deserves, 3 to 5. They're getting 7 to 8. And so it makes it tough for a team to want to go give up a shortstop, especially when you got guys that are very close to free agency. So I don't know, like that's just my biggest thing right now. Like, obviously we need a pitcher. The bullpen, it is what it is. Honestly, like, if we go get another arm, that's great, but I don't think we need another arm in the pen. Like, we've got enough in the system to be good in the bullpen. Like, we're not going to be great, but we could be. Actually, we could be great. Like, if C-Rod comes back and is healthy, it's funny that people are more scared about C-Rod coming back and healthy than Jared Walsh coming back and healthy. And with this Drury signing, it really does kind of open that door for me, where it's like, is Jared Walsh even going to be healthy opening day? Because if Jared Walsh is healthy opening day and we're not planning on trading him, where's Drury going to play? Like, I think everyone was assuming that Gio Urshela is going to have to play basically every day, whether it's at first base, whether it's at second or third or whatever. And then now we signed Drury, again, probably going to play mostly every day. Where's he going to play? First base, second base, third base? It raises the question, is Jared Walsh going to be healthy opening day? And I know you and I have both said no. Like, we don't believe that. And we have been told by many, many people that we are wrong. And I'm fine with being wrong on this, honestly, but I don't think you can give me a real answer until February, what? February 25th, February 30th? Like,
until you see him taking batting practice in spring training. Like, you just don't
even
know.
Then, like, I want to see him playing a game. Like, if he's playing games early February, fine. Maybe he will be ready. But to pencil that guy into the starting lineup right now is scary. You just haven't seen guys come back from these injuries as position players. I think Zunino is the first position player that will be back, and it took him 6 months, 7 months, 8 months. And really, if you want to get technical, like, he got hurt in June, early June, or late June, early July, excuse me. He missed the entire season. Walsh got hurt late August, early September, right? So you're looking at him being ready. If you're on the Zunino timeline, he's ready by the second month of the regular season. And I think that's more of a likely timeline for him than just expecting this dude to be ready. And I don't know. I just think that this signing brings up a lot of questions. And are the Angels done offensively? I don't know. I don't think they should be. Are they done spending money? Maybe. Again, don't think they should be. Are they going to trade anyone? I don't think that makes sense because this is the first time that they've had adequate depth on offense in a long, long time. But they might because they got to get better. And sometimes you got to trade from depth to get better and just hope that some young guys step up. So I don't know. There's a lot of weird things to go with this.
Yeah, and just kind of rehash that all again because I did have some talking points on that. You're right, 100% right. The Angels don't have one shortstop; they have four shortstops at the moment. I know you're gonna hate
They
that.
have zero guys that actually play shortstop. David
I
Fletcher is
do.
not a shortstop.
No,
Luis
I
Rengifo is
agree.
not a
You
shortstop.
know
Like
I
we've
agree.
we've
I was
seen this.
messing with you. God, come
We've
on,
seen
relax.
this.
I
We've seen
know.
Luis Rengifo
I
play
we
shortstop.
are.
We've
I
seen
have
David
been the
Fletcher play
biggest preacher.
shortstop.
I've been the biggest preacher of go get a shortstop. We all know
No,
this.
no,
I got to give you a little bit of shade. Come on,
no,
come on.
no, no.
All right, all right, all right.
You said we had four shortstops. It's on the record
It's
now.
interesting.
I'm
I
bringing
just
this up
don't.
later.
I don't know what to make of it. I don't know. I know you're gonna bring this up later. You always bring up everything later. I'm. I don't know what. I'm honest. Like it's interesting, man. I just don't know. They gotta have something else cooking here. Like, and I usually know a little something about it and heard anything. Like, no, I don't think anybody really heard about the Drury signing until the day that it actually happened. So it's yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the plan is. I don't know what it looks like moving forward. You're 100% right. They don't have a shortstop. They have four guys that can play shortstop. They don't have a shortstop. I've always been a fan of like, hey, Fletcher can play 120 games and 30 games at different positions. Like, does David Fletcher now have the ability to be the fourth outfielder type of thing? Like it brings up a lot of it does. I know we shrugged at that and it's like, whatever. But it brings up a lot of like really interesting. I just don't know. I really don't know. As far as Angels lineup goes, it's again, I didn't bring it up, but something along the lines of this. You go Ward probably leads off to a Otani, Trout, Rendon. You can probably flip flop Drury and Renfro in that next spot. Looking at 5-6 there. Then you go Walsh, Urshela, platooning at first base. Urshela can also though play second base, play shortstop, play third base if you need to get Rendon off his feet for a little while. Stassi and Ohapi, I think that's pretty set in stone. I think that's who you're going with, unless they find a way to sign a catcher on some type of deal and Ohapi starts in AAA. But I think that catcher is pretty solidified at the moment. And then at the moment, I think it's Renifo and Fletcher at shortstop in a platoon type of role. I think Renifo plays the majority of the games, while Fletcher can play again all over the diamond. I made the joke on Twitter. It's literally the Los Angeles Angels of utility men. Like Fletcher can play all over the place. Renifo can play 3+ spots.
Four.
Yeah, Renifo can play
Are we
four.
sure
He played the
Rengifo's
outfield.
not the fourth outfielder?
Renifo could be the fourth out. I mean, it really it's very interesting what like I know that you haven't liked Perry's offseason by any means, but it's fascinating what this could look like. Like this is a prototypical Joe Madden lineup, like 26-man roster, and Joe Madden's not even managing the team anymore. So like I point the finger there, like why is Joe Madden not managing the team with this type of roster? I don't want to bring that up or anything like that by any means. And again, I know there are a lot of fans out there saying go trade some of these guys away. And you brought it up. It's like Angels are in a good spot with this depth. It doesn't make sense to do that type of thing. So I'm in full agreement with you. It's an interesting it's an interesting not trade. It's an interesting free agent signing. It is fascinating what this 26-man roster is going to look like. I honestly, it's what is the opening day starting lineup? Is there going to be 162 different lineups this year? Like if everybody stays relatively healthy, you could hypothetically roll out. I mean, I'm sure you could find a way to roll out at least 130 different lineups with all these guys here. Fletcher playing an outfield spot, Renifo possibly playing an outfield spot. I mean, there's been rumors of Renifo playing center field for Team Columbia being their starting center fielder. So yeah, I am intrigued to say the least. I think they're pretty close to like an 85 win team with on paper right now, but of course you got to play play the game. So Nate, you got any final thoughts before we let everybody go? I think
They,
we've kind of covered everything. Or do you
they
guys
do
have something
still need one more outfielder, it looks like. I mean, you with what you just named off, there's 12 guys there. You probably are looking for 13 on the roster offensively,
Yeah.
and then 13 pitchers, which gives you, 5 starting pitchers and 8 bullpen arms because Otani doesn't really count as a pitcher. I know Otani's a pitcher, but like based on the way the roster is put together, he won't count as a pitcher.
Yeah.
The other thing that I kind of looked at as you brought this up is it kind of reminds me of an Oakland A's lineup. Like it really does. It's a bunch of guys that like.
Which is that a compliment, Nate? Did you just compliment the Angels? Because we've always said like, watch out for Oakland.
I love the way Oakland does things, but the one difference between this and the way Oakland does things, Oakland's guys get on base. Like they take walks, and nobody on this lineup takes walks except for Trout, Otani, and Trout and Otani and Rendon are going to take walks. But other than that, like it's a very home run strikeout lineup, and that's a very scary lineup to me because like that's a team that could go 3 or 4 weeks without scoring more than 2 runs. Like it can. If there's a couple weeks where Otani's not swinging it, Rendon's not swinging it, Drury's not swinging it, Renfroe's not swinging it, like these guys could all get cold at the same time, and it's not like some lineups where you look at the Dodgers and it's like, well, Trey Turner's not going to go into a slump, or Freddie Freeman's, those slumps are different. And that's something that Carlos Correa brought up, and I've talked about it a lot. Is like the way those guys slump is completely different than the way this lineup is going to slump. Like if Trout goes into a slump, yeah, he might go 0 for 10, right? But he's going to walk 8 times in those other he might go 0 for 10 with 8 walks.
Yeah.
Where you look at a Fletcher, a Drury, a Renfroe, they could go 0 for 10 and have 1 walk in there.
Yeah.
They're not helping us score runs.
This is very Perry philosophy-esque. Like you look at what Perry and staff have, and I don't want to just put it on Perry because it's Perry and staff. I think that's like one of the most overthought things in baseball, that this is like fully Perry's team. Like there's a staff that also makes all these choices too. So I think Perry and staff, this is a very Perry and staff philosophy team that they have going here. Guys that can kind of play all over the diamond, who are big physical guys who hit for power. And we're seeing this in the minors too. Guys that they're drafting, the Bryce Teodosios, the Luke Franzonis. And I know I'm throwing out names here that probably a lot of people that
even
watch
Sonny DeCharo, you can throw his
Sonny
name
DeCharo, like yes, Zach Neto is kind of that odd man out, but like you look at him as a prospect, and after we even talked to him, he's a different type of guy. He really is. He's a fascinating player. So but this is a very Perry, and I don't know if that's going to be a thing we start saying, a very Perry lineup, a very Perry roster. It's going to have a lot of power. They're probably going to swing and miss a little bit. However, I don't think it's going to be like swing and miss. I think they're just going to strike out a lot. I think that their swing and miss totals aren't going to be horrible, because that's something that Perry and staff don't like, is that swing and miss, type of thing. I think they're going to see a lot of pitches. I think they're going to work into a lot of bullpens. And I think they're going to hit a lot of home runs, which isn't a bad thing. I've always been a believer of get guys on in front of Mike Trout, though. Those are the two big things. Like if you're one, Taylor Ward is your leadoff guy. He gets on base. He works the count. I think he saw like the 17th most pitches in baseball per plate appearance last year. So you put Ward on in front of Trout. That's fine. Renifo struck out a lot. You put him in the 9, or not struck out a lot. Didn't get on base a lot. All these guys really aren't getting on base. Shohei Ohtani, not a big on base guy. Anthony Rendon, when healthy, is one of the best pure hitters in baseball, gets on base a lot as well. He's one of those guys who, when slumps, gets on base still, like Mike Trout. So,
but you see my point, right?
Yeah, yes.
That's
this is a very Perry. This is a very Perry team.
I don't know how much like they're gonna get deep into bullpens, because like they don't walk. Like
they're going to see a lot of pitches, though. That's what I think. That's the thing.
We'll see about that. Like, yeah, they could see a lot of pitches because 3 pitches and a strikeout, but it could be 1 pitch and a home run too. Like we don't know. So
Like one pitch and a home run over 3 pitches and a strikeout any day.
I mean, I would too, but you're gonna have
You can only hit
30.
so many home runs. You can only hit so many home runs. You can't. I
Yeah,
don't think you have 6 guys that are going to hit 30 home runs. That would be quite impressive, though, and I'm sure we'll talk about that down the
we
road
will
here. So,
definitely. So
as
interesting signing.
it
We're
is.
good.
It is. It is. So, as always, thank you so much for listening and watching this podcast here at Talking Halos. Again, you can subscribe wherever you are listening. That'd be fantastic. Subscribe to us on YouTube as well. That subscriber count just keeps going up. It's been fantastic. Thank you so much for all the support. We really do appreciate it. We're gonna take probably the next couple weeks off unless we get some big news like this. Again, check us out on talkinghalos.com. You can check out myself on Twitter, Jared_Tims, Nate at NateGreen34, guys. And thank you so much for listening. Have a great rest of your day.